The first anomaly appeared on a quiet Tuesday morning in late September. Dr. Elena Rodriguez adjusted the quantum resonance analyzer in her underground research laboratory, her keen eyes scanning a series of holographic displays that seemed to dance with mysterious electrical patterns. Outside the reinforced concrete walls, the world continued its usual rhythm. Commuters rushing to work, coffee shops buzzing with morning conversations, children heading to school. Nobody noticed the microscopic disruptions happening beneath the surface of global communication networks. Elena had spent the last decade studying quantum communication interference, a field most of her colleagues considered theoretical at best and career-ending at worst. Her work at the Global Scientific Collaborative Research Center had been consistently underfunded, her research proposals repeatedly rejected by traditional funding committees. Yet she persisted, driven by an intuition that something fundamental was changing in the way electromagnetic waves interacted across planetary systems. The holographic display flickered, revealing a complex web of interconnected data points. Most researchers would have dismissed the pattern as statistical noise, but Elena saw something different. Each point represented a minute deviation from expected communication frequencies, too precise to be random, too subtle to be detected by standard monitoring systems. She pulled up historical data, her fingers dancing across the holographic interface. The anomalies had been building gradually over the past 18 months. Satellite communication glitches, unexplained network interruptions, bizarre electromagnetic pulse signatures that seemed to emerge from nowhere and disappear just as quickly. Individual incidents had been dismissed by telecommunications companies and government agencies as technical malfunctions or solar interference. But Elena knew better. Her background in quantum physics and advanced communication theory gave her a unique perspective. These weren't random occurrences. They were carefully orchestrated signals, a form of communication so advanced that it was practically invisible to conventional detection methods. "Computer," she spoke softly. "Run comprehensive cross-reference analysis on global communication disruption patterns since January of last year." The laboratory's advanced artificial intelligence system began processing enormous amounts of data. Thousands of seemingly unrelated incidents started to form a coherent picture. Submarine communication cables experiencing inexplicable signal degradation. Maritime navigation systems showing momentary but precise positional errors. Atmospheric research satellites detecting strange energy signatures at the edge of Earth's ionosphere. Something was preparing. Something was watching. Elena's colleagues would laugh if she shared her current theory. An advanced extraterrestrial intelligence was systematically mapping Earth's communication infrastructure, learning its weaknesses, understanding its vulnerabilities. Not through brute force, but through the most sophisticated form of reconnaissance imaginable. A silent, patient investigation that left almost no traceable evidence. Her computer suddenly displayed a series of complex mathematical equations that seemed to emerge spontaneously. They represented communication patterns that defied current scientific understanding, wave functions that could simultaneously exist in multiple states, communication signals that could propagate without traditional energy transmission. This was beyond quantum entanglement. This was something entirely new. A notification pinged softly. Her most recent research grant application had been rejected again. The Academic Review Board cited insufficient empirical evidence and speculative methodology. Elena smiled grimly. They would understand soon enough. Her personal communication device buzzed. A message from her brother Marcus, currently stationed with an international peacekeeping mission in a remote region. Strange equipment malfunctions here. Everything seems off. Thoughts? Elena's fingers hovered over the response screen. How could she explain what she was discovering without sounding completely mad? The signals were becoming more frequent, more coordinated. Whatever was coming was close. Very close. The holographic displays continued their silent dance, revealing a complex symphony of information that spoke of an impending transformation humanity was not yet prepared to comprehend. The first global communication blackout happened, simultaneously across 6 continents. It wasn't a complete silence, but a calculated disruption that left humanity simultaneously confused and unsettled. Major cities experienced cascading system failures that defied conventional explanation. Tokyo, bullet train networks ground to a halt mid-journey. Passengers watched in bewilderment as complex electronic systems simply stopped functioning, with no apparent mechanical failure. Emergency protocols failed to activate, leaving hundreds of trains suspended on elevated tracks like frozen metallic serpents. New York's financial district became a landscape of frozen digital displays. Stock market screens went dark, communication networks collapsed, and the intricate web of global financial transactions simply ceased. Traders stood motionless, their smartphones and computer terminals displaying nothing but a strange, shimming pattern of interconnected geometric shapes. Dr. Elena Rodriguez watched the global event unfold from her underground research facility. Her preliminary data suggested this was no ordinary technological breakdown. Each system failure followed a precise mathematical pattern, too consistent to be random, too complex to be a simple technical malfunction. Marcus Rodriguez, her brother, stationed in a remote peacekeeping outpost, sent encrypted messages describing similar phenomena. Military communication systems were experiencing unprecedented interference. Satellite navigation became unreliable, with GPS coordinates shifting in ways that defied physical laws. Radar systems detected massive object movements that would vanish before they could be properly tracked. Scientific research stations around the world began reporting extraordinary atmospheric changes. Electromagnetic readings showed patterns that challenged existing understanding of quantum communication. Weather monitoring systems detected unusual energy signatures at the edge of Earth's atmosphere. Precise, calculated, almost deliberate. Global. Leadership found themselves paralyzed. Emergency meetings at the United Nations revealed the depth of human vulnerability. Traditional defense mechanisms seemed laughably inadequate against a threat that could dismantle technological infrastructure with surgical precision. "We are dealing with an intelligence far beyond our current comprehension," Elena muttered to herself, analyzing the complex data streams flowing across her holographic displays. The invasion wasn't about physical destruction. It was a systematic deconstruction of human technological capability. Power grids began to fail in a carefully orchestrated sequence. First, smaller regional networks would collapse, then larger metropolitan systems. But it wasn't a complete shutdown. Instead, power would flicker unpredictably, creating a sense of technological uncertainty that was more psychologically devastating than a total blackout. Transportation systems experienced similar calculated disruptions. Aircraft navigation systems would momentarily malfunction, causing panic among pilots and air traffic controllers. Ships at sea found their digital navigation tools rendering conflicting information. Even simple technologies like traffic lights became unreliable, transforming bustling city intersections into potential zones of chaos. Communication satellites began transmitting strange geometric patterns. Amateur radio enthusiasts and professional communication experts alike found themselves unable to decode these transmissions. The signals carried a complexity that suggested an intelligence far beyond human comprehension. Elena's research team worked frantically to understand the emerging pattern. Jack Chen, the network engineer, developed specialized algorithms to track the communication disruptions. Dr. Aisha Okonkwo analyzed the biological impact of these technological changes, noting how human neural systems seemed to be subtly affected by the emerging electromagnetic disturbances. This isn't an invasion, Elena realized watching the global systems transformation. This is a systematic recalibration of our entire technological ecosystem. The world was changing, not through violent destruction, but through a calculated dismantling of human technological infrastructure. Each system failure was a calculated move in a larger, more complex strategy that humanity was only beginning to comprehend. As night fell across different time zones, people looked up at the sky with a mixture of fear and anticipation. Something fundamental was shifting. The rules they had understood about technology, communication, and human capability were being rewritten in real time, and this was just the beginning. The underground research facility hummed with an electric tension that went beyond its advanced technological infrastructure. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood before a massive holographic display, her fingers tracing complex data patterns that seemed to dance between mathematical precision and cosmic mystery. Jack Chen hunched over a custom-built quantum interface, his fingers moving with the practiced speed of a concert pianist, navigating an impossibly complex instrument. Lines of code materialized and dissolved, leaving behind intricate traces of information that defied conventional computational logic. Dr. Aisha Okonkwo approached the central workstation, her eyes reflecting a mixture of scientific excitement and profound concern. "The communication patterns," she said, breaking the intense silence. "They're not random. They're a language." Elena nodded, understanding dawning in her eyes. The technological disruptions weren't simply attacks. They were a form of communication, more complex than any human language ever conceived. Each system failure, each network interruption, carried mathematical information so dense that traditional decryption methods were completely useless. "It's like they're speaking through our technology," Jack muttered, pulling up another layer of complex algorithmic translations. "But not speaking to us, speaking around us, through us." The team had been working continuously for weeks, surviving on brief moments of sleep and an endless supply of high-caffeine nutrient supplements. Their research facility had become a sanctuary of scientific investigation, cut off from the increasingly chaotic world above ground. Global communication networks remained in a state of controlled chaos. Major cities had adapted to intermittent technological failures. Transportation systems operated on manual overrides. Financial markets had developed temporary analog tracking methods. Humanity was resilient but fundamentally changed. Aisha's background in neurobiology provided a crucial breakthrough. She discovered that the communication patterns resonated at frequencies that mimicked neural transmission rates. "They're not just disrupting our technology," she explained, her voice filled with a mixture of terror and academic excitement. "They're studying our cognitive processes." The holographic display shifted, revealing a three-dimensional representation of the communication interference. What had initially appeared as random disruptions now looked like an intricate biological network. Each point of interference connected to others in ways that suggested an intelligence far beyond linear thinking. "They're mapping us," Elena realized, "not just our technological infrastructure, our entire cognitive ecosystem." Jack developed a revolutionary algorithmic model that could partially translate the interference patterns. It wasn't a complete translation, more like catching glimpses of an incredibly complex conversation happening just beyond human comprehension. The breakthrough came during a 72-hour continuous research session. Elena had been analyzing the quantum resonance patterns when something extraordinary happened. The interference patterns began to reveal a structure, not just a random collection of data, but a complex communication network that seemed to have its own internal logic. "It's recursive," Jack said, his voice barely above a whisper. "The communication adapts. Each interaction changes the fundamental structure of the message." Aisha connected the quantum communication patterns to known neurobiological transmission models. The similarities were both fascinating and terrifying. Whatever was communicating was doing so in a way that blurred the lines between technological and biological communication. The team realized they were dealing with an intelligence that didn't distinguish between technology and biology. Communication for this alien presence was a fluid concept, something that could flow through electronic systems, biological neural networks, and potentially even quantum states of matter. "We're not just being invaded," Elena said, looking at her colleagues. "We're being studied, comprehensively, systematically." The holographic display continued its mesmerizing dance of information. Each moment revealed another layer of complexity, another glimpse into a form of intelligence that challenged everything humanity understood about communication, technology, and consciousness. Something fundamental was changing, and they were only beginning to understand how profound that change would be. The secured conference room felt more like a sanctuary than a meeting space. Reinforced walls lined with advanced electromagnetic shielding protected their most sensitive discussions from external interference. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood before a holographic projection that mapped the complex communication patterns they had discovered. Military strategists, scientific advisors, and government representatives watched in a mixture of confusion and growing understanding. This was not a conventional war. This was an intellectual confrontation that challenged every traditional concept of conflict. "We cannot fight them with traditional weapons," Elena explained, her voice calm and precise. "Their communication network is so advanced that conventional military strategies are essentially meaningless." General Michael Roberts, a veteran military strategist with decades of experience, leaned forward. His weathered face reflected years of conflict resolution and strategic planning. "Then how do we defend ourselves?" he asked, a hint of frustration underlying his question. Elena's presentation revealed the true nature of their discovery. The alien presence was not simply invading. They were systematically mapping human cognitive and technological infrastructure. Each communication disruption was a form of information gathering, a way of understanding human systems at a fundamental level. Jack Chen stepped forward, displaying a series of complex algorithmic models. "They communicate through a recursive neural network that adapts instantaneously," he explained. "Traditional communication disruption methods would be like trying to stop an ocean with a paper towel." Dr. Aisha Okonkwo provided the biological perspective. Her research showed how the alien communication patterns resonated with neural transmission rates. "They're not just collecting information," she said. "They're understanding how we think, how we process information, how our cognitive systems respond to complex challenges." The impossible strategy began to take shape. Instead of resisting the alien communication, they would develop a method to introduce cognitive complexity that the alien network could not easily process. "We need to create an intellectual puzzle," Elena explained, "so complex and contradictory that it challenges their entire communication methodology." The team had discovered a fundamental weakness in the alien communication network. Despite its advanced adaptability, the network relied on a form of collective intelligence that required rapid, consistent information processing. By introducing a series of mathematically complex, philosophically contradictory information patterns, they could potentially create a form of cognitive dissonance. Military advisors initially dismissed the concept. How could a mathematical algorithm defend against an advanced alien invasion? But as Elena and her team demonstrated their research, a different picture emerged. This was not about destruction. This was about intellectual intervention. Jack developed a revolutionary computational model that could generate complex recursive algorithms. These weren't simple computer viruses. They were sophisticated intellectual constructs designed to challenge the very foundation of the alien communication network. Aisha's neurobiological research provided crucial insights. By understanding how the alien communication mimicked neural transmission, they could develop algorithms that introduced subtle cognitive contradictions. These weren't designed to destroy, but to challenge, to create intellectual friction. The strategy required unprecedented cooperation. Scientific institutions worldwide would need to collaborate. Communication networks would be repurposed. Computational resources would be redirected to generate the most complex intellectual challenge ever conceived. "We are going to fight an intellectual war," Elena told the assembled experts. "Our weapon will be pure, unfiltered human creativity." The room fell, silent. The implications were staggering. Humanity's greatest strength, its capacity for innovative, non-linear thinking, would become its primary defense mechanism. General Roberts, initially skeptical, now looked intrigued. "You're saying we can stop an advanced alien invasion," he said, "by presenting them with a mathematical and philosophical challenge they cannot resolve?" Elena smiled. "Precisely." The impossible strategy took shape. A global network of researchers, mathematicians, philosophers, and scientists would collaborate to develop the most complex intellectual intervention in human history. Humanity, was preparing its most unique defense, not with weapons, not with force, but with the power of human imagination and intellectual complexity. The Global Research Initiative emerged like a phoenix from the chaos of the ongoing technological disruption. Universities, research centers, and scientific institutions worldwide began a level of collaboration unprecedented in human history. The underground research facility became the central hub of this extraordinary effort, with Dr. Elena Rodriguez coordinating a network of the most brilliant minds from every continent. Jack Chen worked tirelessly on developing the distribution infrastructure. The team needed a way to deliver their complex algorithmic weapon that could penetrate the alien communication network. Traditional communication systems were unreliable, constantly being disrupted by the ongoing alien reconnaissance. He began repurposing abandoned satellite networks, creating a mesh communication system that could operate independently of standard infrastructure. Dr. Aisha Okonkwo focused on the biological computational interface. Her research revealed that the algorithmic weapon needed to be more than just a mathematical construct. It needed to resonate with cognitive processing patterns that could potentially disrupt the alien network's fundamental communication methodology. "We're creating an intellectual intervention," Aisha explained to her research team. "Not a weapon in the traditional sense, but a complex cognitive challenge that exploits the rigidity of their communication network." Around the world, researchers began contributing pieces of the puzzle. Quantum physicists in Beijing developed mathematical models that introduced recursive paradoxes. Neurobiologists in São Paulo mapped complex cognitive response patterns. Philosophers in Cairo contributed intricate logical constructs that challenged linear thought processes. The preparation became a delicate dance of scientific innovation and human determination. Each contribution was carefully analyzed, integrated, into a growing framework that defied traditional understanding of communication and conflict. Marcus Rodriguez, Elena's brother, took charge of the potential delivery mechanism. A strategic operations specialist with extensive experience in complex mission planning, he began assembling a team capable of getting close enough to the alien command systems to initiate their unique intervention. "This isn't a military mission," Marcus explained to his hand-picked team. "This is a scientific expedition that happens to be our last hope for survival." The team included experts from diverse backgrounds: a quantum communication specialist from Russia, a computational linguist from India, a neural network engineer from Kenya. Each brought a unique perspective, a different approach to understanding the complex challenge they faced. Abandoned research facilities were converted into secure communication centers. Old military bunkers became collaborative research spaces. The entire global scientific community had been transformed by the existential threat. Elena watched the collaborative effort with a mixture of hope and trepidation. The algorithmic weapon they were developing was unlike anything in human history. It wasn't designed to destroy. It was designed to challenge, to introduce a level of cognitive complexity that could potentially fracture the alien communication network. Jack's breakthrough came during a 72-hour continuous work session. He discovered a way to create a quantum-entangled communication network that could potentially bypass the aliens' interference. "It's like creating a communication system that exists in multiple states simultaneously," he explained, his eyes bright with excitement. Dr. Okonkwo's neurobiological research provided the critical biological component. By understanding how the alien communication mimicked neural transmission, they could develop algorithms that introduced subtle cognitive contradictions. These weren't simple computer viruses. They were sophisticated intellectual constructs designed to challenge the very foundation of the alien communication methodology. The team worked with a sense of urgency that went beyond traditional scientific research. This was humanity's last hope. Every breakthrough, every moment of collaboration, represented a potential path to survival. "We are writing the most important algorithm in human history," Elena told her team during a critical planning session. "Our weapon is pure human creativity." As global communication systems continued to fluctuate, as cities adapted to intermittent technological failures, the research team prepared for the most important mission in human history. They were no longer just scientists. They were humanity's last line of defense. The impossible was becoming possible, one algorithm at a time. The modified stealth vessel looked nothing like a traditional spacecraft. Constructed from a hybrid of salvaged alien technology and human engineering, it was a testament to human adaptability. Marcus Rodriguez surveyed the vessel's interior, his experienced eyes catching every minute detail of the sophisticated equipment that surrounded him. Their team was small, but exceptional. Dr. Kamil Nowak, a quantum communication specialist, monitored a series of complex interface systems. Zara Ahmed, a computational linguist, managed the intricate algorithmic payload they would attempt to deliver. Diego Ramirez, a neural network engineer, stood ready to make real-time adjustments to their intervention strategy. "We have one chance," Marcus said, his voice calm and measured. "One opportunity to introduce our cognitive disruption algorithm directly into their primary communication network." The vessel's stealth capabilities were unlike anything in human history. Developed through a combination of quantum camouflage, technology, and advanced electromagnetic manipulation, it could potentially move through the alien detection systems unnoticed. Each system had been meticulously designed to exploit the subtle weaknesses in the alien communication network that Elena's team had discovered. Zara Ahmed reviewed the complex algorithm one final time. "It's more than a computer virus," she explained to her teammates. "It's a carefully constructed intellectual challenge. We're not trying to destroy their system. We're trying to introduce a level of cognitive dissonance that their communication network cannot resolve." Their target was the massive alien command ship, a structure that defied traditional understanding of technological infrastructure. Initial scans suggested it was less a physical vessel and more a mobile communication hub. Its design blurred the lines between biological and technological systems. Kamil Nowak monitored the approach, his fingers dancing across a holographic interface that displayed multiple layers of quantum communication patterns. "Their detection systems are incredibly sophisticated," he muttered. "But they have a fundamental weakness. They expect linear patterns of approach." The team had spent months studying the alien communication methodology. They understood that the extraterrestrial intelligence relied on predictive modeling. By creating an approach that defied those predictions, they hoped to slip through undetected. Marcus guided the vessel with precision that came from years of strategic operations experience. Each movement was calculated, each adjustment made with microscopic precision. They were threading a needle through the most complex communication network ever encountered. As they approached the alien command structure, the vessel's external sensors began to pick up increasingly complex communication patterns. It was like moving through an ocean of information, each wave carrying multiple layers of meaning. "Preparation sequence," Marcus called out. The team moved into their final positions, each member ready to execute their specialized role. Zara began the initial algorithmic deployment. The computational payload was designed to be almost organic in its complexity. It wasn't a simple piece of code. It was an intellectual construct that could potentially challenge the very foundation of the alien communication methodology. Diego monitored the neural network interface, ready to make real-time adjustments. Their success depended on their ability to adapt instantly to any unexpected responses from the alien communication system. "We are humanity's last hope," Kamil said quietly, his eyes fixed on the complex data streams surrounding their vessel. The alien command structure loomed before them. It was less a physical object and more a living network of communication and energy. Traditional concepts of approach and infiltration meant nothing in this context. Marcus took a deep breath. Years of strategic planning, months of preparation, and the collective effort of the entire human scientific community came down to this moment. "Initiating final approach," he announced. The vessel moved forward, a silent messenger carrying humanity's most sophisticated intellectual weapon. Not a weapon of destruction, but a challenge of pure, unfiltered human creativity. Everything depended on the next few moments. The alien command structure pulsed with an energy that defied conventional understanding. As Marcus Rodriguez's team initiated their algorithmic intervention, the first signs of change became subtly apparent. It wasn't a violent disruption. It was something far more profound, a gradual unraveling of a complex communication network. Dr. Elena Rodriguez watched from the underground research facility, her hands hovering over a complex holographic interface. Monitors displayed intricate data streams that represented the most sophisticated scientific intervention in human history. Activation sequence initiated. Zara Ahmed's voice came through the communication link, calm and precise. The algorithm began its work. Unlike traditional cyber attacks, this was an intellectual intervention designed to challenge the very foundations of the alien communication methodology. Each line of code was a carefully constructed philosophical and mathematical puzzle, created to introduce cognitive dissonance into a seemingly impenetrable network. Kamil Nowak monitored the quantum communication patterns. "They're responding," he said, his voice a mixture of excitement and tension, but not in any way we predicted. The alien communication network started to display behaviors that defied its previous patterns of absolute coordination. Ships that had moved with perfect synchronization began to show slight variations in their trajectories. Communication pulses became irregular, losing the razor-sharp precision that had previously defined their approach. Diego Ramirez tracked the neural network interface, making minute adjustments. "It's working," he reported. "We're introducing complexity faster than they can adapt." Inside the massive alien command structure, something extraordinary began to happen. The unified intelligence that had seemed insurmountable started to fragment. Not through destruction, but through an intellectual challenge so complex that it challenged the very foundation of their collective consciousness. Marcus watched the vessel's sensors with intense concentration. "We're creating cognitive friction," he muttered, challenging their entire communication methodology. The transformation was unlike anything humanity had ever conceived. The alien network wasn't being destroyed. It was being intellectually challenged. Each mathematical construct, each philosophical paradox introduced by the algorithm, created subtle fractures in their communication infrastructure. "Their adaptive capabilities are unprecedented," Zara reported, "but we're introducing complexity faster than they can resolve it." Elena's team had prepared for this moment for months. They understood that this wasn't a traditional conflict. This was an intellectual intervention that challenged the very concept of communication and consciousness. Quantum communication patterns began to show unprecedented variations. Ships that had moved with perfect synchronization now displayed subtle differences. The unified intelligence began to show signs of internal conflict, of inability to resolve the complex intellectual challenges being introduced. "We're not destroying them," Elena explained to the global scientific team monitoring the intervention. "We're presenting them with an intellectual challenge they cannot resolve through their current communication methodology." The alien network's response was fascinating. Instead of a direct counterattack, they began to generate increasingly complex communication patterns. But each attempt only introduced more cognitive dissonance, more philosophical contradictions. Marcus guided the vessel, with microscopic precision, continuing algorithmic deployment, he reported, introducing next-level cognitive challenges. Global communication systems, which had been under constant alien interference, began to show signs of stabilization, not through direct conflict, but through an intellectual intervention that challenged the fundamental communication methodology of the alien presence. "They're trying to adapt," Kamil reported. "But our algorithm is evolving faster than their ability to resolve the cognitive challenges." The moment stretched into minutes. Minutes that would define the future of human existence. The alien communication network, once seemingly invincible, began to show signs of fundamental transformation. Diego's neural network analysis showed something extraordinary. "They're experiencing something akin to philosophical uncertainty," he said. "Our algorithm is introducing levels of complexity that challenge their entire concept of collective intelligence." As the intervention continued, it became clear that humanity had discovered something profound. Their greatest weapon wasn't technological superiority. It was the capacity for creative, non-linear thinking. the ability to introduce complexity, to challenge fundamental assumptions, to think beyond established patterns. The alien network continued to fragment, not through destruction, but through an intellectual challenge that it could not resolve. The world changed in ways no one could have predicted. The alien presence didn't simply disappear, it transformed. Humanity's intellectual intervention had done something far more profound than anyone had imagined possible. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood before a global scientific conference, her presentation revealing the extraordinary aftermath of their unprecedented mission. The massive holographic display showed the intricate communication patterns that had emerged in the weeks following their algorithmic intervention. "We didn't defeat them," Elena explained to the assembled researchers and world leaders. "We engaged them in the most complex conversation in human history." Global communication systems began to stabilize. The intermittent technological disruptions that had plagued cities worldwide gradually receded. But something fundamental had changed in how humanity understood communication, technology, and intelligence. Jack Chen's research revealed the most startling discovery. The algorithmic intervention had not just challenged the alien network, it had initiated a form of cross-species communication that defied previous scientific understanding. The boundaries between technological and biological communication were becoming increasingly blurred. Dr. Aisha Okonkwo's neurobiological studies showed remarkable changes in human cognitive processing. The global intellectual challenge had somehow expanded human perceptual capabilities. People reported enhanced pattern recognition, more complex problem-solving skills, and a fundamentally different approach to understanding complex systems. Marcus Rodriguez, who had led the critical infiltration mission, described the transformation as more than just a successful defense. "We proved something about human potential," he told journalists. "Our greatest strength is our capacity for creative, non-linear thinking." Cities began to rebuild, but not in the traditional sense. The technological infrastructure incorporated lessons learned from the alien communication network. Urban planning, communication systems, and computational models reflected a new understanding of interconnectedness. Scientific institutions worldwide collaborated in ways previously unimaginable. The global crisis had broken down traditional barriers of national and institutional boundaries. Research centers in Tokyo worked seamlessly with laboratories in São Paulo. Computational centers in Berlin synchronized with research facilities in Cape Town. The alien presence hadn't been eliminated. Instead, it had been transformed into a form of ongoing communication. Scientific teams continued to analyze the complex communication patterns, discovering new insights into consciousness, technology, and the nature of intelligence itself. Educational systems underwent a radical transformation. Curriculum shifted to emphasize creative thinking, complex problem-solving, and interdisciplinary approaches. Schools began teaching methods of cognitive flexibility that had emerged from the alien encounter. "We learned that intelligence is not about having the right answers," Elena told a group of students during a global lecture. "It's about the capacity to ask more complex questions." Global communication networks developed new protocols inspired by the alien communication methodology. These new systems were more adaptive, more resilient, more capable of handling complex, nonlinear information processing. The economic systems began to change as well. Traditional linear economic models gave way to more adaptive, interconnected approaches. Businesses started to value creative problem-solving and intellectual flexibility over rigid hierarchical structures. Marcus reflected on the mission during a private moment with his sister. "We didn't just save humanity," he said. "We expanded what it means to be human." Dr. Okonkwo's research suggested that the algorithmic intervention had triggered something profound in human cognitive development. People reported enhanced intuition, more complex pattern recognition, and a deeper understanding of interconnected systems. The global scientific community continued to study the transformed communication patterns. Each discovery revealed new layers of complexity, new ways of understanding intelligence that went beyond traditional human comprehension. Elena looked at the holographic displays showing the new communication networks, What had begun as a desperate attempt to survive had become something much more significant. Humanity had engaged in the most complex intellectual conversation in its history. "We are different now," she told her research team. "Not because we defeated an alien threat, but because we learned how to truly communicate. The invasion was over, but humanity's greatest journey was just beginning. A new chapter of human potential had been written, not through force, but through the power of creative nonlinear thinking."